This is our dirty little secret that we're going to keep and hold on to. Hey, welcome back to Between Two Pumps. I'm Terry McGean. I'm joined by Mike Musto and Terry Shea. And today we're talking about something that has to do with where my brain tends to go. Sometimes we're thinking about cars to buy.
It's a big surprise.
The option sheet.
Yes, how you make a careful trip through an option sheet. I've always kind of pondered which car to order and how, in part because I have very specific tastes, but also because I'm always the guy who doesn't really want to pay top dollar for the top shelf car because there's things I want and things I don't want.
Well, and it answers the question, do you need the top shelf car?
Yeah, and that's how I'm always thinking. And the one that we've brought up a few times is, some of my recent daydreams where I wanted to buy a new Challenger, and I didn't want a Hellcat with everything on it. I wanted the RT Scat Pack wide body, cloth seat, no sunroof, and it tends to go like that with me. So we were just talking about 911s, and Porsche is an area that I don't have a ton of experience. I've driven a bunch of them over the years. I've never owned one, but they've kind of been on my mind lately. We've been talking a lot about them. So I was just asking Mike, how do you get into a 911 most economically?
Sure.
Most car for the money?
Well, let me ask that question the second way, which is, what is the best Porsche experience without the need to pay for all the Porsche stuff?
Well, and I think that's a great question. I think that's a question that a lot of enthusiasts ask themselves, right? It's like, okay, well, if I want to get into the world of Porsche or the world of Mini or the world of Dodge or the world of anything, how do I do that without sacrificing, right? That I can get into the car, that I can drive it, that I can enjoy it, and that I have it intact. Like I get the experience.
Without having to necessarily pay for the top shelf
that's
stuff or for all the things you don't need.
Right. And I think some of the models that we're talking about, these cars they've been on the road, for a long time. And so there's vast options that you can go out and then you can choose from. But to Terry's point, you have to, you first realize what you're going to do with the car, why you want the vehicle. Then you can go down to the option sheet. And because the cars have been out there, and we're talking about used cars that you can find on Marketplace, Marketplace or anywhere else for that matter, you can say, okay, I want to specifically look for this. I'm going to look for this option package. I'm going to look for this model. I'm going to look for this, what have you. And yeah, we just started playing around with different years, makes, and models. And we started talking about Minis and Corvettes and Porsches and everything else. And we were like, we should record this because this is a great subject.
Yeah. So what you've got, late 996, 996.2, 04.
I have an 04 996 C4F. And so when I was getting into the Porsche game, and I've had transaxle cars, I've had 944s and I've had 928 and stuff like that. My thing is I wanted to get into a 911, and I can't go out and buy.
And the gamut of 911
is massive. I mean, you can go through, the air-cooled cars all the way up to the latest and greatest. But it's like, okay, well, first off, what's your budget and what's the experience that you want? For me, maybe I'll go to the track once in a blue moon with this thing, but probably it's going to be very scarce. So I wanted a car that I can take on back roads, that's all-wheel drive, that looks the business, that fits my frame, which is a bigger guy, and that is reliable, and that's fun, and that fits the whole, like, the Porsche experience for me. And I looked at everything. I looked at a Boxster. This doesn't fit in a Boxster. Unfortunately, I looked at a Cayman. This does not fit in a Cayman. It does, however, fit inside of a 911, which is one of the reasons. Now, that's not to take away from the fact that a Cayman or a Boxster are tremendous cars and do not detract from the Porsche experience at all.
I would prefer a Cayman over a 911. Well, I had an accident. I got hit in the M Coupe, and when I was, the insurance company was debating. This is when I'm going to say 2008, when the Cayman was still fresh, first gen with 987.1 Cayman. And, part of me was hoping, oh, I hope they fix this. The other part of me is like, well, if they give me a check, let's go check out the Cayman. And it was such a wonderful driving experience. And I wouldn't even need a Cayman S. I mean, a base Cayman, 245 horsepower. You get the sport suspension, active suspension management. You could get a 6-speed with it, but I don't even think the 5-speed's all that bad.
No.
There's so much car for a pretty reasonable amount of money. I mean, they've bottomed out and they've been going up again a little bit.
They have it.
Because the new Caymans are all 4-cylinder turbos, except for the super high-end ones.
Right.
So that
But
experience is a little different.
But this is where we get into the marketplace, and this is the cool part, right? Because these cars have been around since, I mean, Caymans have been
Cayman's
around
20
since
years now.
20 years, 911s for the last, a billion years, whatever the case is, Corvettes, whatever. So the swath of cars that we have to choose from, the option packages, the power packages, you really kind of have your pick of the litter. So,
And that is kind of where I came at
right.
this, because when you've got a car or a family of cars that's been around for a long time, my brain always thinks, okay, somewhere in there is a valley of the lowest value at this moment of that type of car that
Yeah,
people aren't looking at. So it's not the new ones, obviously, and it's not the classic ones.
sure.
They're both on the upper ends of
Yeah,
that.
you're right in that kind
And
of.
so I was sort of asking you, okay, where is the valley right now? What is a cool 911 that you could actually drive every day, which we know is pretty much any
Sure.
911, and certainly the ones that have been made for the past 30 years,
Yeah.
that is affordable? Because I suspected that despite 911 hysteria that kind of went on there for a while, it's still sort of,
Yeah, it's cool.
still playing
Still there. Yeah.
area. There's a lot of them out there. There's got to be a spec that is reasonable.
And there is. I think there's a bunch of them. Like right now in the 911 market, if you want to get into the 911 game, you buy a 996. Okay. And I'm going to quantify this with whatever your budget is, right? If you have $50,000, $50,000 opens you up to a great swath of 911s. Now, you can just get into a higher mileage 997.1, okay? Which is fine if you like the 997s, but you're probably talking a car with over 100,000 miles. If you're talking about a 996, which is a fabulous, fabulous car, you can get into an early 996, like a 99 to 01, a .1996, for 25 grand for a decent one.
A decent
Like,
coupe with a
coupe?
6-speed.
And a decent coupe 6-speed. Now that's a base Carrera 2 non-aero kit car, non-Carrera 4 car. But what a fabulous car. And that is, everybody's going to say IMS, all that shit. It's so overblown. Deal with it. Most 99% of the cars,
It's been fixed by
It's
now.
been fixed. Don't worry about it. But that, when you consider the prices of say a brand new family car, great value for dollar and every single bit of the Porsche experience.
And this is kind of where I was wanting you to take me with this, because I suspected strongly, and you've kind of confirmed, that there is an area of 911s that are not super special right now in the eyes of
Correct.
There's nothing wrong with them.
No, they're just not.
But there's a lot of them, and they're kind of in the not.
And they
classic
bottomed out.
valley.
They bottomed, except for the ones that get more and more clapped out. There's an
Yes.
appreciation now for 996s that did not exist
Correct.
almost immediately when the 997 came out.
That's correct.
Well, and the thing with
Forgotten about.
Porsches that we kind of know from history is there truly is going to be a valley, this U-shaped thing that just sort of moves through a timeline.
Yeah.
Because as time goes on, you'll have the depreciation of the latest model cars as they approach their valley, but those cars that are in the valley are probably going to start climbing up.
Yeah.
And in the case of the 996, as time goes on, people are probably going to say, well, geez, that was a more analog car than the one you can
Well,
buy now. I
and-
wish I had one of those.
And that's one of the things that people have to realize is that the 996, they're going up. They're on the on the climb. But we're talking about an analog car, right? A 996. There's no, unless you optioned it with the navigation pack, no screen, no backup camera, no screen, super analog, super clean dash, just a very pure Porsche driving experience. And people forget that, the 996 generation was the first of the water-cooled cars. So that was a huge thing. And it ultimately is one of the cars, along with the kind of the Cayennes and stuff, that kind of saved Porsche, because they were built in conjunction with the Boxster. So, it's a fabulous car. Now, if you drop down and you say, okay, well, what about a Boxster? A Boxster, fabulous cars that are so, they do not get the recognition they deserve, and they are outstanding. And I'm talking about early Boxsters up until current Boxsters. And it's like the best. You want to talk about hidden gems and hidden secret? Go buy an early Boxster. What a fantastic car. A Cayman. Go buy an 06
Well,
base
see,
model
now
Cayman.
you're talking, because I'm more of a coupe guy than an open car.
There you go.
And when the Cayman came out, I remember thinking, because when the Boxster came out, this was supposed to be the latest affordable, put
Right.
that in quotes, Porsche, and they were.
It was like I think they went for a base of 39.9.
So, and in the past, when we've seen this happen, we got things like the 914, which, you know, and people
24.
924.
So what I'm kind of trying to gingerly say is there were some Porsches that some people felt sullied
Weren't real.
the brand.
Well,
But that's a
Yeah.
rabbit hole that we could go.
that's another one. Well,
Another subject.
You're right. And curiously, no, not curiously, here in 2026,
Not curiously, judgmentally,
a
but
914 is no longer a scorned car.
No.
People like those.
Yeah.
And the 914.6 was always special.
Talk about those people.
Oh, and this is another, we'll resist the temptation going in 924 with
Yeah, blah, blah, blah.
Volkswagen engine. But the Boxster out of the gate quickly established itself as being, yes, it's low cost, but it's not a compromised car. And then it just kept getting better.
Correct.
When the Cayman came out, I was like, okay, now you're talking, because it's got a roof.
Same here.
And they were getting into the S and everything. And then,
Right.
of course, the truth that a lot of people don't want to hear is that, you know, when you put the engine in front of the rear wheels,
Well,
things might get a little better. And I know it's sacrilege to
no, but
suggest.
but here's the thing: it's not sacrilege to suggest, because having driven Caymans at, in anger on tracks and stuff like that, the fact is the Cayman platform is outstanding. It's not good; it's outstanding. Okay, and you will find that if you talk to guys that track their cars, you're going to have the high horsepower guys that are always going to be like, "Well, I want a GT3, or I want a GT3 RS, or I want a GT2." That's fine.
How many, the first gen GT3, the 996, and the late, I'm sorry, 997.
No,
996
GT3.
04?
Yeah, I think
There's a brief period they made it for the US. They dropped down to about 50 grand at one point.
correct. They're at about 130 right now.
Yeah. And they started creeping up, and that's the last couple of years. So your minimum price for a GT3 will get you 4 decent Cayman S's.
Oh yeah. And I think that's the thing. Like a Cayman S, a base model Cayman is a fabulous car. Is it the fastest? No.
But it's not slow either.
But
It's not slow.
not at all. I mean, it's light,
Light.
it's light, it's nimble, it's great. If you're not going to track the car and you want a really fun car to just go canyon carving and hit your favorite back road, outstanding. They're just great. They're just great cars. And I think that it used to be, when they first came out, and the Boxster and the Cayman first came out, they'd be like, well, you couldn't afford a 911. And all the Boxster and the Cayman guys are like, you know what? Stick with your 911s. This is our dirty little secret that we're going to keep and hold on to. And they're not wrong. For me, I just personally don't fit in one. But that's not their fabulous.
And I'm fine. My M Coupe has trained me in the snug, claustrophobic ways of automobiles.
Yeah.
And another thing I like about the Cayman is that 21st century Porsches have proven pretty reliable, comparatively speaking. Certainly compared to other German automakers. And so you can daily drive it. You can take it to the track. You can take it on the back road. You can take it on a date. Perfect car.
That was another thing that was on my mind, because recently there have been a lot of stories popping up about long-term 911 owners with 90s and 2000s 911s, where the cars have well over 100,000 miles, and
easy.
It's no big deal. And when you put the IMS bearing thing aside, as we've kind of already discussed,
There are solutions.
the cars just, there was a time when buying a car like that would be like, well, you're accepting that you're doing something impractical,
Yeah.
but you're not necessarily now, because it's a car that you can drive every day. And now when you bring into the mix that, well, there are versions of this car you can get into for 25-ish. Now think about the fact that, well, 25 grand is going to buy you like a used RAV4, right?
Right.
And so what would you prefer to drive?
Well, and here's the thing. Think about it like this. Most Porsche owners are meticulous about maintenance, right? So when you buy, because they know if they ever go to sell it,
For sure.
no, I think it translates. Like, I think I'm the third owner of my car, and I have paperwork going back to essentially day one, which is fantastic. My other C4S that I had, it was the same thing. And as a Porsche owner, you kind of look for that. Whereby if you're going to go buy an F-150, guess what? You're probably not going to get paperwork
Right.
from day one. But as far as mileage goes, there are plenty with 150, 160, 170,000 plus miles on them. But here's the other thing. If you're not going to daily it, and say you find one with 100,000 miles on it, or 120,000,
You're only adding 5,000 a year.
and you're in
a year.
5,000. Okay, well, it's going to take you 3 years to add 10,000 miles. So what? Like, so would I pay, you know, 10,000 less to do that? Yeah, in a heartbeat. Why wouldn't you?
Well, there don't seem to be any of these milestone mega services that some high performance cars have. You know what I'm talking about?
They're not.
Like a Ferrari.
A belt is the classic one where it's like, oh, when you get to this service, you know, you might as well.
Either by time or mileage, you're paying 40 grand.
Right. And the Porsches don't seem to have that now.
911's like 996 things you're gonna have to do. You're gonna have to do, just for peace of mind, if it hasn't already, but you didn't do your IMS, your RMS, you're gonna have to do motor mounts eventually. You know what I mean? Injectors are a thing that you're probably
Change
gonna have to do.
intentioners at some
Yeah,
point.
stuff like that. But that's
we don't have to do on any other car ever.
Right.
it's routine maintenance on every single car. It's just routine. And I got news. The parts, everybody's like, they're so expensive. They're really not.
Yeah.
They're not much more than, you know, most other stuff. And there are so many different
So many
outlets and stuff, like
independent-
so many independent shops. It's really going to depend. If you can do the work yourself, cool. If you're paying a labor rate, depending on the region that you live in, it's going to be more or less. But the fact of the matter is, they're good cars, they're reliable cars, and you can get into one for not that much money and not lose any bit of the experience.
So we've talked about the 911s, the 996. Yours is a .2,
.2.
and yours is a 4S.
Mhm.
And you showed me, which this would be the kind of thing that normally would appeal to me, how yours it's not a turbo, but it's got that body work in the back that you love.
Exactly. So there are certain things that I personally looked for. Could I have gone out and gotten a 996 turbo? The answer is yes. Did I want a 996 turbo? The answer is no. And everybody will look at me and say, well, whatever, you couldn't afford it. That's not the case. The reason I got the 4S was I think it is the most elegant of the 996s. I think it has the wide hips. It has this beautiful reflector bar in the back. It doesn't have a splitter on it. It has a retractable spoiler, but the 996 Turbo has these big air scoops that go in and a big tail on the back. I personally don't like that. I wanted the wide body and I wanted this. Now, do I have the turbo Metzger motor? No. But what I do have is I've got the 996 Turbo chassis, the 996 Turbo brakes, the suspension. It's, I would say, let's say 75, 80% of a 996 Turbo, except for the engine. But I don't need 400 and plus horsepower. This has 324 horsepower. For what I use the vehicle for, it's perfect for me.
And then from my point of view, looking in on the 911 thing and wondering, can I get into one of these cars reasonably that I
Yes.
could just enjoy for a while? For me, I would be fine with a two-wheel drive narrow body car and just to sample that for a while.
And here's the thing.
And for me, I like them hips on the back of the Cayman.
Yeah, well, that's the whole thing, right? It really depends. Now, if you wanted to get into a 996, if you got 99 to 2000, you could get into a narrow body car, a little less power, not much. If you wanted to get into an 01 to 04, you're talking about the .2, so different headlights, different upgrades, stuff like that, like small interior bits and bobs, a little more power. But the fact is, they're both you're talking about 3,300-pound cars, 3,300-pound cars. They are
Featherweight
featherweight in comparison today. They handle great. They're nimble and wonderful.
Cayman.
Yeah, if you fit. If you fit. You know what I mean? So I think the argument could be there for whichever one you want. But yes, you can get into a 996 Carrera 2, 25 grand all day long.
It'll be a nice one. If it's a 99 or 2000.
Correct.
That'll be a nice example.
If you want to step up to an Aero Kit car, you're going to pay more. If you want to do a Carrera 4, you'll probably pay about the same because Carrera 4 is a little bit of weight. Depends on if you want all-wheel drive or not. But they're great cars for the money. But I will say if you are interested in one, you kind of have to start looking because people are starting to realize how good these cars are.
They're seeing the valley just as you are.
Yeah.
And they're going, well, shit, if I want to get into the Porsche, if I want a 911, this is where I'm going to have to get. Again,
It's where the 964s were not quite 20 years ago. 964 was so unloved.
Right.
And that period, and now the 964s are just
100 grand.
yeah, it's insane.
Yeah.
So let's talk about a different car in the same boat.
Yeah.
Not too long ago, a few minutes ago, before we fired this up, somebody pulled out of the gas station here in a C6
Yeah.
306,
Yeah.
which is an epic car.
It is.
It's an epic car. They're worth the money. previous generation, there's a weird thing going on with Corvettes now because the C8 is such a departure that typically when the new version of the Corvette comes out, the previous generations drop significantly in value. They haven't done that with the C7, and the high performance cars, the Z06, the ZR1, have actually gone up in value.
Yeah.
And the trickle down is that C6s
Mhm.
have solidified and gone up in value. For me, for my money, rather than the Z06, which is what, 505 horsepower for a 7-liter 427, I like the Grand Sport. 430 horsepower, dry sump engine. You got little bits and pieces. Does it have the fenders from the Z06?
Yeah, it's
The
yeah.
carbon bits
It's
on there.
it's a Z06 without the
The big
It's an
Mustang.
awful lot.
without the LS7.
I've driven one before, and I thought, this is all the Corvette I need. And, it's kind of more handsome than the cars that came after,
Well, it's different
in my blatant
because
opinion.
well, no, you've got the fender slats on the side, which I think look great on the front quarter panels, which look amazing. It's still the wide body. It's still dry sump. It's still
It was cool when it came out, I thought, because again, and one of those things that appeals to me, it's like this is sort of like a backdoor way into most of the good
Yeah.
equipment that they openly acknowledge, like, hey, this is a great track car. You might not need 505 horsepower.
And the coupe would get you the dry sump. I think you had a non-dry sump with the convertible.
Okay, but I wouldn't. We
get a
would
convertible. We're not convertible people.
The thing about the Z06,
Cup that.
the C6 Z06 that does appeal to me is that 7-liter because that turned out to be a high watermark
Yeah.
in terms of displacement, and that LS7 engine is
And it
I-
revs
It's easy and it's very
like
great.
7,500 RPM.
They scream.
That's like my dream crate engine for my '69 Camaro. But the Grand Sport thing, I thought that was really cool. In similar fashion, later on, when they were doing 1LE stuff with Camaros, I thought that was really cool. It's like, okay, you can add this 1LE package to an SS, and you don't have to step up
Mhm.
to the killer. We talked about Mustang GT
Mhm.
from the S197.
Yeah, I
So you just had one of those. And what year was yours?
Mine was a 2013, and that was something that I knew I was gonna modify, and I had run the gamut. I said, "Okay, well, do I get a Boss 302? Do I get a Shelby?" And for what I needed was the Coyote at that time was putting out 420 horsepower. You could order it a base model Mustang GT with, the track pack, which gave you, bigger wheels. It gave you the Brembo brake package. It gave you the Recaros inside, the Recaro
I
seats.
think the Recaros were a
Separate.
separate option.
No, they came with the track pack. The Recaros came with the track pack.
I'm
Look it up. I bought it. I
We're
know.
gonna look it up. We're gonna look it up. All right. I'll be on the lookup.
Track pack was
Super
Recaros.
fun.
So
2013? 2013.
2013.
All right. 2013 Mustang
Yep.
option sheet. Let's see what we got
Um,
here.
and it was a great car. Now, did I look at the Boss? I did look at the Boss, but the fact of the matter is, I knew I wanted performance that was above and beyond a Boss.
You knew you were going to
I
modify.
knew I was going to
Right.
modify it. So the fact of the matter was, is this going to fit my bill? And I loved the Coyote. That
Yep.
was the one thing. It revved to, I think, 7,000 RPMs. Everybody bitched and moaned about the MT. I think it was the MT82 transmission, the manual on that car. I put 24,000 FU track miles on that car. I never once had an issue with the drivetrain and the engine. It was a great spec. Am I glad I didn't buy a Boss 302? 1,000%. Because Boss 302s right now are $35,000 cars.
Mm.
You know what I mean? It is a massive amount of car for $35,000. With that said, a 1314 S197 Mustang GT with the track pack for 18 to 22 is a massive amount of car.
When they started doing that, so Mustang GT got a lot more interesting when the Coyote came out.
Yes,
right?
it did.
If you remember,
100%.
they jumped from like 305 horsepower to
420.
411 or 412, and then later 420.
Yeah.
So Terry Shea and I were partners with a few of our friends on a.
You had a Lemons car, right?
We had a Lemons. Well, no, we built the Mustang for American Endurance Racing.
Okay.
We never actually went American Endurance Racing. We just used it for track days. But that car was a 2011, which
Okay.
I think was the first year for Coyote. There's 1 year of that body style where you got the old engine. Those people really got screwed.
That is true.
And when our car came out of Copart, and as soon as we saw the photos, it's like, those wheels are the performance package wheels.
Yeah, you've told us about this.
And then there was an engine shot, and it had the strut tie bar. And I'm like, that's performance package. because that thing was called Track Pack, and then Ford, which I thought was cool,
Yeah.
and then Ford changed it to Performance
Yeah.
Package, which didn't sound.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Great car.
what was so cool was you take the Mustang GT, you order that package, and it was almost felt secret. There was nothing secret about it, but it gave you the bigger wheels, the good tires, the Brembo brakes up front, the strut tie bar, and you also got some GT500 trailing arm stuff in the back.
Yeah.
I'm not clear on the specifics, but people who did what you did were rare. But I remember seeing a used 11 or 12 that somebody went in and basically said, "I want Mustang GT, manual transmission, performance package, and nothing else."
And that's right.
And that, to me, it was like, yeah, that's the car.
And it was. And it was. And the fact that you could option it out that way, again, I think out the door, I think I paid $31,000 or
Yeah.
$32,000 for that car. Like I said, compared to a Boss, which were I don't know how many thousands over sticker people were getting, I'm so happy I didn't do that because it gave me the opportunity to buy a quote unquote lesser model that I could build upon with what I wanted to do. Whereas, and this kind of goes back to the muscle car thing, whereby like what I really want to modify at Boss 302, which was quote unquote a special car.
And people were treating like a brand new collector car.
Correct.
And by the way, there were only two options on the Boss 302. One was Recaro seats. I think I've only ever seen one that did not have
A
Recaro
Recaro?
seats.
Yeah.
The other was a Torsen differential, if
Right.
I'm remembering
And you see,
correctly.
the track pack cars, like my car, had the Torsen diff.
Okay.
And so that was part of the track pack, which was great. So you got quote unquote a couple of Boss 302 parts.
And they came with 373s, I
Came
think.
with 330s. Oh yeah, that car screamed.
Yeah.
That car screamed. And so like that's an example, right? When you talk about like Terry was saying about the Corvettes, and we talked about the Grand Sport, another example of a fabulous, fabulous car that you could buy, and you could essentially, it's kind of like a Corvette hack.
Mhm.
We were talking earlier, Terry was talking about Mini Coopers. You know what I mean? Where you could get the S, the Clubman S, the John Cooper Works Special. There are so many different cars now that have been on the market for the last 15 to 20 years that are just outstanding cars that even by today's standards offer you so much performance for your dollar that it's no less of a driving experience. And then sometimes it's more of a driving experience.
Well, the Mini Cooper that jumps to mind in my mind. So the second gen Mini Cooper comes out, and the late part of the early Mini Cooper JCW. First JCW is a bolt-on thing from the dealer. You could either buy some of the parts or they do the whole thing and
Yeah.
you get the sticker from the dealer if they'd install it. Second gen comes, or when it's factory installed, I believe limited slip was part of it,
Yeah.
and there were some other internal components, a little more power. But second gen car comes out, and now you've got option of a mini convertible. You've got I guess there's one in the first part, Gen 2. You've got the Mini Clubman, and I always thought the Mini Clubman was cool. I mean, this is another form of hot hatch. It's a
Mhm.
longer hot hatch.
It's a fat one.
And so the Cooper S gets you the turbocharged engine in the second generation,
Second.
not supercharged. And you would get the sport suspension with that. The sport suspension was punishing in that car.
Yeah.
So for me, my spec for the second gen, what I think they called R56 Mini Cooper, was the Mini Cooper Clubman. So it's essentially a three-door wagon, getting short door on the right side, um, manual transmission, no turbo, and the standard suspension. Because if you're driving that car and you're not on a racetrack,
You don't want to beat yourself.
you
to
will
death.
be beat to death unless you live on some place with glass smooth
Yeah.
roads. It was punishing. It was way more than it needed to be. It's one of the flaws in my Ford Focus RS is the Ford engineers. I feel like they had a budget for the suspension. So lateral abnormalities in the road, you're fine. But the longitudinal ones, like the little bumps you're hitting, everything is transmitted through
Yeah.
the tires. And he recently swapped out between the winter and the summer tires, and you go from the 40 sidewall winter tires to the 35 sidewall, larger diameter 19s, and you feel even more. It's like for a passenger, I'm at the stage now where I'm letting my kids drive the
Sure.
car, and I was a passenger with my son driving last week, and I was like, holy crap. It's awful in this seat. And now I know my wife hates this car, but when she's not driving it, she's in this seat.
And she's like, this sucks.
And it's just punishing. And the Mini Cooper S with the sport suspension, and you could get sport suspension also on the non turbo car, was excessively punishing for a
Yeah.
street car. So for me, I wanted a car that has that, and we talked before about it, the Italian cars where they, they're gonna lean a bunch and you feel like, wow, this isn't good handling, and then they lock in. And the Mini, do you really get on the street that much more handling out of a sports suspension
Yeah.
of a little car like that? Yeah, you could argue better tires and slightly bigger wheels, but for me, that test drove the car at a press event, both with the sport and without the sports suspension, and it was such a pleasant experience that if I were to look for one of those, and I love the size of it, I love
Yeah.
the spec of it, I would just as you would go to find your track pack
Yeah.
non-boss, I would go through the specs to find the Cooper, not the S,
Sure.
without the sports suspension, which everybody thinks they want, and on a day-to-day basis, it's awful.
So what would be another, right? We covered kind of Porsche, we hit Corvette, we hit Mini. There's so many different marks out there. I think if you look at Chevrolet and you go kind of, and it's not a downgrade in any way, but you look at a Camaro,
Mm.
right? And you think of you so many over the last 15 years, right? You had an SS, then you had the SS, you had the 1LE, then you had the Z28, then you have, the
ZL1.
ZL1, 1LE. I mean, so many variations of this car that were in any configuration really great cars.
Yeah, the Z28. It's funny. I was talking
Z28, the Z06. I mean, the LS7 and a Z28. That you want to talk about a collector, and they were 35 grand not too long ago.
Oh, did they ever get that?
Yes, they did, because I had a buddy that bought one. He bought one with 110,000 miles.
Oh, okay.
110,000 miles.
Wow, so we
Guy
drove
Bailey.
that much.
That he's paid 32 or 33.
All right, without my own car. That's why I'd never seen one that low, because those really didn't drop. Those,
Yeah, they didn't make enough of them.
Never.
They were treated again as special cars from day one. They were, but when you make that few of them, that collector guys are going to buy them, then are going to drive them, and
This
then
guy drove the shit out of his.
that's really
I
cool.
thought that was the magical spec
I agree.
of Camaro.
What, 305 squared all
It
around?
had 18-inch wheels, didn't it?
I don't know if they were 18 or 19, but I know I had
I
305.
think they're 18s. I don't think they're
Because regular Camaros had 19s or 20s.
Yeah, on the
And they
SS.
actually went to a smaller because they're trying to get weight out of the
Yeah.
wheel tire package.
Yeah.
I think it had thinner glass and some in the back window.
Everything about it was cool.
And
That car's a weapon too.
Yeah, and just the 7-liter in a Camaro was like, this
See,
is the
the 7-liter to me, like it's funny. I'm over here going, I don't need the Z06. I just need a Grand Sport. But with the Camaro, no, man. And the Z28.
Well, yeah, but I think here's the deal: the Z28 is a track-focused car, right? If you're not going to the racetrack, don't buy a Z28. A Z06,
And I don't think I want a Camaro as a daily driver.
well, no, I mean I don't,
Weapon.
but I think the beauty of a Grand Sport Corvette is that it is a daily driver, and it could truly go bull. And listen, there are thousands of Z06s out there that were dailied.
Yeah, and
No problem with that.
we're being a little hypocritical, I think, because we are sort of, we just finished saying, man, a Mustang GT performance pack that kicks it on a Boss 302.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm sitting here saying, no, I really wanted that Z28.
No, but I think this is the picture also of desirability. There's
Yeah.
much more rarity in it. And people kind of looked at it like, oh no, the ZL1 has what, 655 horsepower,
Yeah.
658 horsepower. It's 150 more than that car. It's more car.
Yeah, but I guess the comparison between what we talked about with the Mustang earlier, like the one you had, would be a Camaro SS with a 1LE package, right? That would be your mainstream performance model with the upgraded suspension that
Sure.
seems to be reserved for people in the know.
Right.
And that would be a great spec. And I think if you dig, like there was other things you could do, like, of course, the way I look at cars, when the new Camaro came out for 2010, of course I would want an SS, that goes without saying, but I wanted a 1SS. Nobody bought a 1SS. 1SS
Stuff.
is like
Yeah.
cloth seat.
Yeah.
Of course, they took away the console gauges, if I'm remembering correctly, but over the years, I always sort of have looked like, I don't think I've ever seen, other than one time, a 1SS Camaro 5th gen for sale. But you know me, I'd be the 1SS
Right.
and 1LE.
So let me ask you. So we're talking about these things. So what's the message here? Are we saying that
Get the car you want that's enough for the driving experience you're looking for. Because the driving experience, back to the Camaro, is a great example. The Z28, our eyes all light up. Not the ZL1, not the 3SS, but the truth is, to your point, a 1SS, 1LE, there's your sweet spot. There are sweet spots out there. When you were talking about the performance package on your Mustang with Recaros, it does appear that Recaros were a separate option.
Okay.
And I had just assumed that if you're getting Recaros in 2010 to whatever in a Mustang, it was leather. But no, cloth was the standard, unless you had premium package. I looked this all up. I finally saw it. But the Recaros were a separate option.
Okay.
Premium package would give you leather. And if you had Boss 302, you get embossed. Boss 302 on
But as I said, even on the Boss 302, you had to option the Recaros.
But they did come with an embossing for Boss 302.
So you know what? Yeah.
Embossing.
Just to correct, yeah, you are right, because it was a 300, I believe it was a 300A track pack with Recaros. So it was another option. The Recaros were an option.
I mean, I would put Recaros in the minivan.
Well, here's the thing. Those Recaros were great Recaros. They were comfortable. They were really good.
heavily
They didn't squeeze.
They were definitely like a track type.
Oh no, they were, and I used them. I mean, I had a cage in my car with harnesses, and they were proper, but they had airbags in them too, which was kind of nice.
Yeah.
Do they have airbag equipped ones?
Yeah, mine was.
So you can't mess with them as much.
I think we had a press car here that had the optional Recaros in it.
They were nice.
They were nice. I mean, you had to climb in and out of that car.
Yeah, you did, but they were. I mean, they were comfortable, and they were daily driver comfortable, which I really liked.
But back to the point you're getting to that.
Sorry.
That our eyes light up at Z06. Our eyes light up at ZL1. Boss 302, GT500. But you know,
But you need all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't need all that.
Yeah.
Your spec of the Mustang you actually bought, the magical spec of the non-existent B5 Blue
Challenger.
scat pack, not SRT, cross seats, 6-speed, the right number of pedals, no roof. That's a great spec for that car. That's all you need. The Cayman or Cayman, even the Cayman base model, 06 to 08, 245 horse, is so much car as a driving experience.
So is the message here? Don't lean into peer pressure from what you think the world wants you to buy, and really go deeper and figure out what you want and spend the money on that for exactly and
or spend the effort to find the car you want.
Yeah.
So that 5 or 10 years from now, when you're admiring that, when you're still enjoying the driving experience, you got what you want, not what you thought you wanted.
Yeah. And that I think that's a great.
I still kind of want a Z28. I don't want any Camaro, but I kind of want a
Z28.
Yeah.
The
All right.
final Z28. Yeah.
All right. So there you go. Do your due diligence. Figure out exactly what you want, why you want it.
Ferret out that special spec.
Yeah. Do your special spec.
And if it's a car that's new to you, reach out to the club guys, ask questions, pop some questions down in the comments here on the video and let us know what you think. But find out about the car. Do your due diligence is a good way to put it. And find a car that's going to light the fire in you the way you want it.
And then obviously go to Hemmings.com, because as we're talking about cars that are 15, 20 years old, sometimes older, we got them all. So we have the spec that you're looking for. And if you got questions, reach out to us. And that's, I don't know, that's what we got, right?
While you're over there at Hemmings.com, check out Hemmings Motor Club.
And where would we find Hemmings Motor Club?
That would be hmn.com/HMC.
That's true. Bunch of benefits, roadside assistance, insurance.
Subscription to the magazine.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff that you're going to dig.
Free listings.
Yeah.
It's a great deal.
Cool.
Till next time.
See ya.